Hello and welcome to the Elemental Entrepreneurship Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah. Thank you for being with me today. If you are new around here, I'm so glad you found your way here. I hope that this episode is valuable for you. If you like it, go back and listen to some of the other ones. And don't forget to like and share and subscribe. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you're returning and you haven't done those things, if you could do them, that would be amazing. One of my goals right now is to grow this podcast. Even though it is rebranding, the name will be changing soon. I don't care. I still want more people around to witness the evolution. So you taking the time to rate, to subscribe, to share this podcast with people that you think might enjoy it really helps me a lot. And so if you derive some value from this, that feels like a comfy, safe little exchange, don't you think? I think it's nice. So yeah, hi, how are you doing? I never know what I'm going to say. Y'all, I just get on the mic and start spitting. So here we go. Here we are. Today, we are talking about exactly what I would do if I was stuck at consistent 10K months and I wanted to hit consistent 20K months. Now, we could have a whole separate conversation about a 10X is easier than 2X philosophy, which if you haven't read that book, check it out. A lot of people are talking about it right now, and we will probably do an episode about it very soon. By we, I mean I, really, you and I together, me with the talking and you with the listening, will probably be talking about 10X is easier than 2X sooner rather than later. But today we're talking about 2Xing because this is a really common thing that clients come to me for. Their business is pretty established. They're making 6 figures. They're doing okay. They're making around 100K a year, or maybe a little bit more, between 8 and 10K months, maybe even between 8 and 12 to 15K months. And they've been trying to hit that consistent 20K month mark, and they feel like they cannot seem to do it. And I think in a lot of ways, the jump from 10 to 20 or from 10 to multiple 5-figure months is in some ways harder than the jump. I'm going to say from 5 to 10. I think the jump from 0 to 5K is the hardest because that's where most businesses don't make it, right? 85% of businesses fail within the first, 18 months. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I've done other episodes about that. So if you can hang out past 18 months, you've already outlived 85% of the peers that you started at the same time as. And then you're in the 15%, and that number dwindles the longer you stay in business. The people who started with you will not be there with you for long. So the goal is longevity. The goal is to really stick in the game, to keep going, and obviously, of course, to improve over time. But really, the longer you stay with it, I think the improvements, do I think that they're inevitable? Maybe, maybe not. That's a separate conversation as well. I can tell already as I'm talking today, y'all, that the ADHD is ADHDing extra hard. So buckle up because all of my thoughts have, I think of them like a drop-down menu on a website. Like you click it and there's like a whole sub-menu underneath every single thought. That's a normal ADHD brain, but my drop-down menus feel extra long today. So we're all in for a ride together. So 0 to 5, I think, is the hardest because you are establishing, you're building everything from scratch. You are in an incredible learning curve of business skills, and your nervous system is being pushed to the max, and you are trying a lot of new things, and you are probably increasing your failure tolerance at a rate that makes your body feel like you're dying all the time, honestly. 0 to 5 is fucking excruciating. That's why most people don't make it. But if you get to 5K months, you good. The jump from 5 to 10, that's actually quite easy, I believe. It doesn't take a lot to get to consistent 10K months once you've established that 5. But the jump from 10 to 20 or from 10 to multiple 5-figure months is much more challenging than I think people believe, because this is where you start to see how much scaling is actually about refinement. And so the way that you work has to change. And it's also where you see an exposure of any beliefs that you are retaining around the idea that money comes from hard work. And pretty much everybody who was not raised wealthy has beliefs that money comes from hard work. That is something that is instilled in a Western psyche from the time you are a small child, again, unless you are born into a family with money. So, and sometimes even then. So the jump from 10 to 20 requires mindset shifts that are very, very deep, like reformation of your core beliefs about labor and about money and about effort and about work. And that goes really deep. And it requires a completely different approach to work. From 0 to 10, you can get away with a lot of mess that will not be scalable. When we think about it, 10K months just means you have 10 clients who all pay $1,000 a month. Or you have one 10K package and you sell one a month. Like, it's not that hard to get 2 clients on 5K packages. You get to 10. So many business owners come to me when they have been stuck at a 8 to 15K revenue level, and they're trying all kinds of things to get to consistent 20K months. And even some of the things I'm going to share with you, I've had clients come to me who were stuck at multiple 5-figure months for some of these same reasons, right? 20, 30K months, but the back end of their business was capped, right? And so frequently that's what's happening when you're stuck at a certain income plateau and you're struggling to get to the next one, is that the back end of your business does not support the growth that you're looking for. So I have 7 things that I would do, that I do with clients. This is what I would do. If I were you, if I were stuck at a 10K month and I wanted to hit consistent 20K months, here's what I would do. Number 1, I would simplify my product suite and stop selling new offers all the time. Sometimes at the beginning, and this is not wrong, I did it on purpose. I did it on purpose last year as a strategy. Sometimes at the beginning, we're selling a lot of different offers because we're trying to find ourselves. We're trying to find our footing in our marketplace. We're trying to find our footing with, like, what do I actually like serving? Because at the beginning, especially in service-based businesses and spiritual businesses where your products are things that you invented from whole cloth. They came out of your brain. They were your idea. They're a need you see in the marketplace. And you're just trying things out. And you're experimenting with, like, what do I like offering? What do people like buying? But also, what do I like delivering? I've made many programs that I created, and I created them from a place of, like, I see a need for this and I'm really interested in this and I want to create it. And then after I did it, I was either like, well, if I do this again, I'm going to totally change the way that I do it. Something about the delivery didn't work, or I really only needed to do this once and I'm not so passionate about it that I want to do it over and over, right? There's lots of reasons that we might want to try a lot of new offers and experiment. And that's fine. If you're in a phase of experimentation, rock out. Also, I don't think it's wrong when you already are at, multiple 6 figures to go through a phase of experimentation again, right? I did this last year. When I first started my business mantra was follow the fun. And I figured if I create stuff that's fun for me to create and fun for me to sell and fun for me to deliver, then I will make a business that's fun. And that ultimately is what I'm looking for. I want to have fun every day. And that was how I built everything. And that was how I discovered my signature offers, was I gave myself time and space to follow my own enjoyment and my own curiosity until I locked into offers that was like, this is so fun for me that I could see myself doing this for years. That was fine. And then last year, when I was feeling a little bit in a rut, I was like, you know what? I'm bringing back Follow the Fun. And I created a bunch of little $500, 6-week experimental offers based on my current interests and philosophies to give me that same freedom and play. So I'm just kind of caveating this to say, I will never say that there's a rigid, hard and fast rule for anything. And there are times when it makes sense to be in a season of experimentation. But you can't really scale a season of experimentation. You can't really scale a season of experimentation. That is a hard sentence. Say it 5 times fast. Now, another reason that you may be making a lot of offers that are not about being in a season of experimentation is because of dropping an offer that doesn't sell quite as well as you hope it would and misinterpreting the data. A lot of business mistakes, I think, come from not having strong mentorship that helps you interpret your data. And everything I'm sharing with y'all, I've done myself. There's no tea, there's no shade, there's no judgment in any of this. I have made every single mistake you can possibly make. It's why I'm a good teacher. It's why I'm a good coach. I am not a natural. I am trying to help people avoid my fuck-ups. So when you don't have good mentorship, high-level mentorship that can help you interpret your data, especially as a person who didn't go to business school, I didn't go to business school, you're probably interpreting your data A, emotionally, and B, through the lens of what you know, which is being a freelancer or being an employee, and not through the lens of understanding business metrics, business strategy, business best practices. So if you drop an offer that doesn't sell very well, you might interpret that as people don't want this offer. I will create a new one. I have done this. This is not uncommon. And so you just abandon an offer that you made, that you liked, that, maybe you sold it and 3 people bought it and you went, well, that didn't work. I'm just going to try something else. Or you launched it once and no one bought it. And you thought, well, nobody wants this offer. And you just go back to the drawing board and you create a new offer and a new one and a new one and a new one. A lot of people who are stuck in the 1 to 5K range, this is the problem they're having. They are changing up their offers so fast that they're not gaining any traction. And they're thinking that the problem that they're having is that people don't want the offer versus what I might think, which is the problem that you're having, is there's not enough widespread awareness of the offer for you to get the level of adoption you're looking for. Or maybe there's something off in your marketing, there's something off in your sales technique, but the offer itself might be fine. And launching something once, especially with a small audience in a new business, is frequently not enough time for it to gain the kind of traction and critical mass that you need to see sales. And so by constantly pivoting your offers, every time you change your offer, you're starting all the way over, educating your audience about who you are and what you do and what your business is about and what you offer. And you're recreating the same problem over and over, which is just not enough people are aware of it. There's not enough time for people to lock in on it. There's not enough time for people to realize that they want it or they need it. There's not enough time for you to build a following around the thing that you're doing. So I would simplify my product suite and stop selling new offers all the time if my goal was to leap from 10 to 20K months, because that leap isn't about offering more stuff or different stuff. The best way to scale is to have a simple, cohesive offer ecosystem. We need offers that stack on each other, offers that build client longevity. I've talked a lot on this show about the importance of building long-term client relationships. And the key to building long-term client relationships is in your product suite. The goal is to increase LCV, your lifetime customer value. So if I'm constantly creating new things that I sell one time to one person, I'm constantly trying to acquire new customers. That is much more expensive and much harder. It's much more expensive and much harder to get a new customer than it is to keep a customer. So when we're building our offer ecosystem, we want offers that stack. We want a journey that our client can go on from beginning to end, right? So we can pick them up at one spot and we give them one product, one service, and then that leads to another, then another, then another, and then they can matriculate on and you go pick up the next client, right? So you have 3 or 4 offers, 3 or 4 programs, maybe even more, that one client can stay in for a long period of time. The goal to multiple 5-figure months really is repeatability, right? It's not about reinvention. It's about repeatability. Can I repeat this over and over and over? So I would go through a product suite and figure out what is really selling, what's extra, what are little one-offs that I made during my season of experimentation that are cool but don't really add overall value, what can be used as a lead magnet, maybe what's a back-end offer, but overall I would be simplifying that product suite, leaning into one signature offer or signature service or signature product and building around that. The next thing I would do is audit my delivery model. So if you can't add 5 more clients right now to your existing roster, to your existing workload without burning out, then the business you have now isn't scalable. For it to be scalable, you would have to be able to add 5, 50, 500, 5,000 clients to the product without burning out. That's what scalable means. I can keep adding and adding and adding more people to this, and the operation can sustain it. So if the way things are set up right now, you couldn't add 5 more people without losing sleep, right? Without having to give up on going to the gym, that's not scalable. Before we can grow your revenue, we have to grow your capacity, right? Your energetic capacity and your emotional capacity, but also your operational capacity. A lot of offers are bloated. They are overpacked. They rely on too much of your time, or they are created, like you created the offer from a feeling of like, I have to give everything to justify my price. I was on a mastermind call yesterday for a mastermind that I'm a member of. And one of the people on the call was talking about how she was creating an offer and she had recently decided she was going to raise her rates. And then immediately after raising her rates, she started feeling like, oh, well, I can't justify this price if I don't also give them this and then give them this and then give them this and then give them this. And the next thing you knew, she had packed this offer with so much work that she was essentially promising somebody what was like 3 to 6 months of work and saying she was going to do it for them in 6 weeks because she was feeling personal anxiety around the pricing. So sometimes we built our offer from scarcity. That's what that is. That's scarcity. That is a feeling that nobody's going to pay for this unless I go above and beyond and do backflips for it. And when we are building our offers like that, we are frequently creating a situation where our offers just demand too much of us, and we're going to get clients who reflect that. We're going to get clients who nickel and dime us. We're going to get clients who expect the moon and beyond. We're going to get clients who are coming to us like, well, why should I pay that? Justify it, right? It's not the high level, self-sufficient, reasonable client that we're looking for. We're going to be an energetic match for clients that are difficult and entitled. That's just how it is. So we want to look at the delivery model for these offers, because if we've got offers set up that are draining us and that the delivery of them is unsustainable, or there's no way for us to add additional clients into our offer model without burning ourselves out, we don't want to scale that. Right? We don't want to put ourselves in a situation where getting 10 more clients, yeah, you'd hit your revenue goal, but your health would suffer. That's not the goal. So we have to make sure that the delivery model of your offers sustains and supports scaling. Number 3, I would look at my nervous system, right? So there are internal glass ceilings to revenue in our nervous system. You can be generating consistent 10K months. I've seen people generating consistent up to 30K months with a nervous system that's addicted to hustle, urgency, scarcity, and doubt, right? It's not like you have to clear all of those things out of your nervous system in order to hit consistent multiple 5-figure months. You can build a financially lucrative business and still be operating from an internal place of hustle, urgency, scarcity, and doubt, overwhelm, overwork, constantly pressing up against deadlines, right? Like being in constant fight or flight around your work. You can make a lot of money operating like that. You can be very successful financially and still have fear of visibility. I've encountered people who, right, have gotten to multiple six-figure business, but their next level, right, their next level of leadership, whatever that is that they see for themselves, there's like a secret vision, a way they really want to work, a level they really want to be at, where they want to be a household name. They want to be doing TED Talks. They want to be speaking on international stages. They want to be publishing books. They want to be more well-known deep down, but their fear around that next level has kept them at their current set point for a long time. And it's tricky because that current set point might look incredibly successful. And then a lot of people get into like, I should be grateful for what I have. And I know that I'm in a position that so many people would love to be in. And I know that from the outside, it looks like I'm doing really well. Nobody would ever suspect that there's also another level dream that I have that I'm really scared of going for. There is no dollar amount at which the inner work stops. There's just not. There's a lot to do at the beginning. But the reason there's a lot to do at the beginning is because you are crossing over. It's an initiation into a new identity, a new threshold. And that's going to happen every single time, not just in business, but in life. You step into a new identity and a new threshold. Our egos and our nervous system, we just did an episode about this, perceive change as a threat, perceive change as death. And that's not wrong. But if we're not doing that inner work alongside our growth trajectory, then we will try to solve what are essentially nervous system and emotional issues with strategy, and we will not be able to figure out what's not working because you will come up with the most subtle and sophisticated ways to block yourself from that next level if your nervous system perceives it as unsafe. So we have to be doing that inner work alongside our outer work. Every time you are reaching for a new goal, there is a possibility also that you will get pushed back into old patterns. Everyone knows how this is. We've all had situations where an old issue resurfaces and we're like, I really thought I had worked through this. I have not experienced this in so long. I haven't had this kind of anxiety, or I haven't felt this kind of fear, or, seen myself go through this pattern in years and years. And I thought that I was done with this. Why is this resurfacing again? And my personal belief has been for a long time, decades, that growth is spiral, right? It's not a straight line. It's not circular. It is a spiral. So you keep encountering the same types of situations over and over again. And the growth that you're able to measure is how differently you respond to the same kind of situation the next time you encounter it. So if you're still responding to the situation in the same type of way, you're in a loop and you're just on that same little part of the spiral. If you encounter that same situation again and you're like, oh, wow, this is the kind of situation that used to put me in anxiety and now it doesn't, that's the measure of your growth. But there is never a time, ever, where we are immune from encountering a situation that brings up an old pattern or an old survival response or an old trauma response. Those things just happen. And sometimes they show up in a whole new outfit and they look real different. And sometimes it's the exact same thing. But we are never immune from getting pushed back into old patterns by the stretch of going for a next level. So sometimes the edge you're hitting, the financial glass ceiling that you're hitting, isn't strategic, it's somatic. If your nervous system believes that your next level is a death threat, then you're going to keep hitting invisible barriers to creating the results that you're looking for. So we have to be doing that inner work alongside the strategy. Number 4, the next thing I would do is review and refine my revenue generation systems. So you can get to 10K months with constant launching. You can be in a feast and famine cycle. You can be in these huge launch cycles where you launch a higher ticket product and you get a bunch of people on monthly recurring payment plans, and that lasts for a little while, but then those are going to run out and then you got to do it again. You can be in a position of constantly chasing high ticket sales, trying to get on sales calls. Your revenue can be too tied to your physical presence in a way that means that scaling is going to require more hustle from you once again. So I would revisit my prices, right, to make sure my prices are aligned with my revenue goals. But I would also make sure that the ecosystem included reoccurring revenue, evergreen sales pathways, back-end offers, so that sales doesn't mean I have to be on all the time and constantly hustling and searching for the next sale. We need that sales on autopilot feeling. We need people re-enrolling. We need the automations, or I'm going to talk about this in a second, but we need things in the background, running in the background that are that are automatically, that's the word I'm looking for, upselling people as they complete one program into another. Or, I even think about being on subscription, right? I'm on some, supplements. I take some supplements, and now a lot of supplement companies do this where it's a little bit cheaper if you sign up for a subscription, and then it manually just recharges my card and reships me another order when I'm about to run out. That is a really smart model. They don't have to start sending me a bunch of emails. Nobody has to text me or call me. They don't have to work really hard to resell me. They've built a model that automatically upsells me into the next thing. And then, of course, if somebody doesn't take the subscription, the next step would be to set up an automated system so that somebody buys a month's subscription or a month's supply of something, and at the 25-day mark, they start getting marketing saying, hey, you're about to run out. Do you want more? Here's what we can do for you. Here's a deal. Here's an offer, right? That's that lifetime customer value work. So we want those things to be happening behind the scenes without requiring a ton of your thought, your effort, your energy. We build out systems that make this happen so that you are not in a constant feeling of, I feel it in my throat and my chest even as I say it, that feeling of I need to hunt for the next sale. That feels like anxiety in my body. It feels like panic. It feels like I'm trying to find my phone and my glasses and my keys and I'm 15 minutes late for something. Like I'm just scrambling around trying to find something I desperately need. We don't want business to feel like that. So we got to make sure that our revenue generating systems are actually systems. Well, everything's a system. It's just either an intentional system or an unintentional system. Scrambling and having to manually reach out to people and post a whole bunch because you're about to run out of money is a system. It's just not one that you want to scale. So number 5, the next thing I would do is I would streamline, upgrade, and refine the back end. So again, scaling means more everything, right? Scaling just means more. And we're not just talking about more revenue. We're talking about more everything. Everything you have now amplified. Everything you have now times 2. You can create 10K months and have no systems. I have worked with entrepreneurs, y'all, who come to me and they are making 30 to 50K months consistently, and they've never separated their business and their personal finances. They are years behind on their taxes. They don't have systems for how they do anything for the most part, and they are getting by on vibes and stress and chaos, and it looks successful from the front end, but behind the scenes, they don't have a business, and many of them are making 30 to 50K months and broke. And if you're wondering how can you possibly be making 30 to 50K months and be broke, it's because you ain't got no systems. That's why. You don't know where the money is going. You don't know what's expensive and what's not. You don't know your profit margin. You don't know where the money is going out. You don't know where you're leaking funds, where you're leaking energy. You are making expensive mistakes because you don't have SOPs. You are redoing work you've already done. You're being inefficient. You're overworked because your offers are overpacked. So you're spending a lot of money on conveniences like ordering takeout multiple times a day. I've seen all of these things. You can create 10K months or more and have no systems. But you will hit a point where that starts to break down, because adding more business with no systems will grind your back end to a halt, and you can tank your business. I have encountered entrepreneurs who are making 20 to 30K months with no systems, and they got an increase of orders, especially those who had physical products or their delivery required too much of them. And then what started happening is it was taking them too long to deliver on those orders, on those offers, and people were getting upset. And they were starting to get negative reviews. I tell people all the time when they talk about wanting to go viral, if you got 100 orders overnight, could you handle it? If you got 1,000 new customers tonight, could you handle it? If the answer is no, then you don't actually want what you think you want. That would actually break your business. We've all seen those movies where somebody says they're going to have a quiet little house party, right? It's usually teenagers. They're like, yeah, we're going to have 10 people over. And the word gets out, and then like 1,000 kids show up, and suddenly there's people like doing keg stands in your mom's living room and breaking all your shit. That's what it's like in my head when you go viral or have a huge influx of orders for a product that you don't have the infrastructure or the back end systems or support to deliver at scale. We can't scale an operation that is chaotic, right? There's no operation. It's all just a mess. And so you will hit a point, whether it comes at 10K months, 20K months, 30K months, everyone's going to hit a point where any more work, any more clients, any more orders would tank your business. Your delivery would slip, your quality would slip, the things that were bringing those customers in to begin with would slip, and you would start to ruin your own reputation because you're not able to deliver the things that you promised. We do not want that to happen. And the way that we avoid that is by creating automations, SOPs, repeatable launch strategies, a back-end infrastructure that can easily accommodate double the amount of business you have now. If you don't have an infrastructure that could easily double or triple or 10x the amount of business you have now, then your systems are not set up to scale. I always talk about businesses being like having a party. But again, this is like, okay, I want to have 100 people over, but you don't have 100 cups. You don't have 100 plates. You don't have 100 places for people to sit down. So this thing that you think you want would actually result in those people having a bad time, leaving early, and telling everyone that their experience at your party sucked. And you don't want that. Because you can have one party that gets 100 people to come, but you probably won't be able to repeat it. That's not going to be good. There are many people out there who have launched something, sold a lot of it, and were never heard from again. That's because their delivery model failed, their client experience failed, they were not able to re-enroll people because they didn't provide a good experience, and that all comes down to your back end. So we got to make sure that you don't just have great marketing or a great idea, you also have the infrastructure in place to support the influx of business you would like to call in. Number 6, I would watch the data and my decision making. So we know the Pareto principle, 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Where's that math? How do we find out the 80-20? It's in your data. We have to get diagnostic about data. I know so many creative and spiritual entrepreneurs are like, I don't look at that stuff. I don't care about the algorithm. I'm not looking at the metrics. I'm not looking at the open rates. I'm just doing my thing. I don't want to get into all the math part. I don't understand it. I don't know how to look at all of that stuff. But that stuff is the oracle, the I Ching of your damn business. That is the place that's getting diagnostic about exactly what's working and what's not. You know right now, or at least your data knows right now, exactly what your customers respond to, what your following responds to, what kind of emails they open, what things they click on, what things they buy from you. You have all of that information in your data. So your ability to figure out, right? Even in my Stripe, I can pull records for my top spending customers. When you're talking about ideal clients, look up who your top spending customers are, the people who have spent the most money with your business and been with you the longest. And then think about what those people have in common. What are they like? What do they like? And then build offers and marketing around that as an archetype and get more of those people. I know who those people are. I'm trying really hard not to say their names right now because their names are front and center in my mind. I know exactly who my highest spending customers are, and I am able to use that as an archetype to say, okay, if 80% of my revenue is coming from this 20% of my customers, then I need to focus on who these people are and what they're like and try to get more people like them. If 80% of your likes and saves on Instagram are coming from 20% of your content, I would figure out exactly what it is that people are really responding to and be like, let's double down on that kind of content and make more of that. We want to go and figure out what is driving the majority of your current positive results. And then we want to take that red pen out and slash through the 80%. I think about that Coco Chanel quote, which, first of all, it's apocryphal. We don't really know that she said this. And also, she was a terrible person. But she supposedly said, what was that quote? That before you leave the house, look in the mirror and take one thing off, right? This is about editing and refinement. The idea that luxury is about refinement, having the eye to know what's necessary and the confidence to remove it. That's what the Pareto principle is, having the eye to understand what's necessary and the confidence to remove what's not. When we are looking at how to double your revenue, this is a math problem. All of it is a math problem. And I was not good at math. I have major math trauma, but you know what I like? I like money. And so if I can do money that all centers around math, the other way around, math that all centers around money, much more likely to do that math. I want to figure it out. So we have to get diagnostic and understand that honing in on what's working and eliminating what's extraneous is how we scale. Scaling's not about doing more. We want to simplify, we want to streamline, and we want to amplify what's already working and remove what's not. In your offers, in your delivery, in your marketing, in your systems, in your day-to-day. This is where we go in with that, magnifying glass, that fine-tooth comb, and we figure out what are the things that are working that we can capitalize on, and where am I just wasting time spinning my wheels doing work for no reason that I can get rid of. And then I would invest, number 7, last one, I would invest in long-term support from a mentor who has serious receipts, serious street cred in the game. At this level, you don't need more ideas. You need a thought partner, a strategist that fully understands your vision. You need a guide who has razor sharp insight into your blind spots. You need a community of inspiring peers who are beckoning you to their level. You need accountability that keeps you in motion, even on a project that takes months to execute. And this is really the key to long-term mentorship, because a lot of these projects in business take months. That means your momentum's going to be gone, right? Your inspiration, the excitement that got you started on the project, that's not going to last long. The proper use of motivation and inspiration and excitement is to use that gust of energy to lock in long-term support to carry you through the inevitable point where that motivation disappears. Because motivation is a short-term fleeting thing. You're not going to have it for months and months and months on end. You're not going to have it in the middle of a big project where it feels like a slog and it feels like you're working really hard and you haven't seen results yet. And if you're in courses or short-term group containers where you're only with a mentor for a couple months and they don't really know you, you're not getting the support that you need to keep yourself in motion on a project that might take you months to execute. And you need a coach who's capable of keeping you performing at your peak under pressure. And that is why Powerhouse Mastermind, here's my little slide. You like that slide? That's why Powerhouse Mastermind is a year long. and designed for people to stay in it for multiple years. The mastermind I'm a member of is a year long and designed for people to stay in it for multiple years. There's something about the maturity of locking into long-term relationship with one mentor. And I call it maturity because there's something young energetically about wanting to hop from container to container and learn everything you possibly can and soak up as many different styles and types of energy as you possibly can. And it's not wrong. I've been there. I've gone through seasons of it. But I will tell you, when you've been working with a mentor for a long time, I have clients who have been with me now for years. Many of the people in my world stay with me for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. When you've been working with somebody for a long time, they know you deeply and they know your business deeply. And that level of intimacy and being seen is unlike anything else. Because the first time I had a coach who was able to catch one of my long pattern arcs and say, wait a minute, I've seen you do this before. I've seen you go into this place before. Remember what happened when blah, blah, blah? Remember what happened the last time you encountered this? I've seen you do this. And if somebody had only been with me for a couple months, they might not see it because I'm a pretty self-aware, sophisticated little number. And so it takes a very high level mentor with a lot of chops and a lot of skill and a long-term relationship to be able to catch me in my most subtle patterns that I'm not seeing. That's why we have the second set of eyes of a coach, of a mentor, of a guide. I'm not seeing it. If I was seeing it, I would correct it. But I'm obviously not seeing it. And when you have somebody who knows you so well, who's been with you for so long, who knows your business inside and out, who can see you making a move and go, wait, this is contrary to what you said you wanted. Let's drop in. Let's reevaluate. Let's look at what's happening here. You said you wanted this. Where are we at with this project? Where are we at with this goal? Have you noticed that every time you approach this kind of thing happens? I see a pattern here. You can only get that level of guidance and deep seeing from somebody who you allow to see you for a long time. And that takes a lot of maturity to know that you want and need that. And so I think that big scaling projects, overhauling your operation in the way that I just broke down, because what I just broke down, that is a top to bottom business overhaul. That is rebuilding the back end of your whole operation to make sure that you are renovated, retrofitted. The foundations of your business are prepared for the scale you want to call in. If we do these things, you're not just set up to go to 20K months. You're set up to go from 10K months to 100K months. With these things in place, you have built a container that can hold the type of abundance that you're trying to call in, the type of generative abundance that you're trying to create. And there is probably no chance of doing that in 3 months, right? Joining a short-term container thinking you're going to get this level of results, it's just unrealistic. If you've been around, you've probably heard me say the first rule of business is everything takes longer than you think it's going to. This is a year-long project, maybe 6 to 8 months, but it's a big project to do this kind of infrastructural overhaul. Now, if you only need 1 or 2 of these things, sure, maybe it can be more short term, but you're going to hit this threshold again and again and again and again every time you want to level up. So locking in with long-term support with an inspiring community. And when I say an inspiring community, in the mastermind that I'm in, there are many members of the mastermind who are far surpassing me in income. Many of them have more followers than I do by a magnitude of 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 times. I am not a big fish in that pond. That's really good for me. That's where I want to be. I want to be in a community of people who are where I'm trying to get to, and having a Slack group where I can pop in and ask a question to a community of people who consider me a peer, who take me seriously, who are happy to collaborate, to share expertise, to have a conversation with me, right? Yesterday we were on a mastermind call, and there was a woman in the group who just had a new baby. And this is a person who, again, they probably have 15 times the number of followers that I do. Their business is much more lucrative than my business has ever been. And they were really going through it because they just had a new baby and they were expecting themselves to be able to run their business the way that they could when they were not a new mom. And there were a bunch of other entrepreneurs in that room who had been in that position, who had gone through that season of life and business, who were hopping in and offering, here's what I did. Here's what happened to me, right? Courses are where we learn what to do. Masterminds and private coaching are where we become the version of ourselves who can do it. And so that piece of locking into long-term support, and especially long-term support in community, cannot be overlooked. This is how you scale a business. And the reason I said at the beginning that so much of this is about mindset and belief is because you can get to a current level, right? 10K months, even in some of the cases that I've mentioned, much beyond 10K months, in a way that wasn't constructed from an embodied ethos of wealth and ease. If everything you have was built from a foundation of believing that money comes from hard work, needing to justify your prices, needing to go above and beyond for every little piece of business. And there's a good way of going above and beyond, right? Like my late friend, Tony Shea, RIP Tony, I miss you, I love you, was live in the wow, right? How do we deliver a wow experience to everyone? How do we create fantastic customer experiences? I want to go above and beyond in that way, but not a bending over backwards above and beyond in a way that depletes me way. Right? How do we find that line of delivering a fantastic customer experience without believing I have to give until I'm exhausted? I've worked with people who are like, oh, yeah, deep down, I believe that if I don't work myself until I'm ill, then I don't deserve to make money. This can go really deep. If we believe that and we want to scale, then we're going to default to trying to scale by adding more. I'm going to think I need more offers, more content, more pressure, more complexity, more overpacked offers, right? If I want more, I have to do more. That's what the belief of money comes from hard work is going to create. And this is where we hit a point that growth becomes paradoxical. Because scaling isn't about proving your worth by doing more. It's about honing in on what works and editing everything else. A question I like to ask people who are caught in that hustle spiral is, what if your business has been this successful in spite of your hustle, not because of it? What if doubling down on what works isn't actually about doubling down on your personal stress or output or effort, but about doubling down on your genius and reducing your output by half? And if there's something in your body that goes, impossible, that is not possible, you need to work with me because we got to get at this at the root. The jump from 10K months to 20K months and beyond is tandem work of addressing your inner beliefs, your nervous system set points, your approach to work, your embodied strategy that are wired to keep you at your current level, and the diagnostic, strategic, and structural work that will help you renovate your business into a light, lean, revenue-generating machine. This is the kind of work we're doing in Powerhouse Mastermind. And if you're like, well, I need to do all these things, I love you so much. We both know you're not going to do it by yourself. You're not going to do it by yourself. I'm not going to do it by myself. I would love to think that I'm going to do it by myself. I'm not. You know why I'm not? Because 2.5 months in, I'm going to forget. That's why I have a coach who's like, hey, you told me your goal was this. Where are we at with that? And I'm like, oh, you're right. Let me get back on track. This is what we need. We need long-term mentorship and support and accountability and structure and consistency so that we can deliver Entrepreneurship can be a very isolating, very lonely game. Every day it's just you trying to figure out what you're supposed to be working on. When you have a job, all of that structure is provided for you by the teams around you, by the organization, by the people making leadership decisions and handing out, here's what we're doing now. Where are we at on this project? Here's the deadline. Here's the goal. Here's the scope. When you work for yourself, that's all you. And that can be very difficult to maintain over long periods of time unless you build yourself structure, unless you build yourself accountability, unless you build yourself a really fucking cool collection of peers to have water cooler conversations with. That's what we're doing in Powerhouse Mastermind. The applications are open right now. We're starting in June, which is basically a month away. When you apply in April, which is not very long, it's only a week left, you're going to get the last of the bonuses. There will be no more bonuses in May. Once we go to May, you just sign it up and you get what you get. So if you want some bonuses, I highly recommend you apply right now as you're listening to this. The bonuses that you get in April are a 2-hour one-on-one breakthrough strategy session. So we will get together in May and we'll do a deep dive on your business. And you're going to talk me through everything and show me exactly what's going on. And we're going to figure out exactly what is going to move the needle for you so that you can start the mastermind with a master plan. You know what I'm saying? The value of that bonus is $555, but you're getting it for free just because you applied in April and got your spot locked in early. The other thing you're going to get is access to a 14-month payment plan. So you can stretch that investment out a little longer if you want to. That is $777 a month or $389 biweekly. So I highly recommend, if you already know you're going to apply, or at least you think you're going to apply, you might as well get the application in April so that you can lock in those bonuses. I would just recommend that you go ahead and do that right meow. The other thing that we're offering that we've never offered before, I'm very excited about this, is Klarna on the Pay in Full. So if you would like to have a much lower payment plan, potentially it's just not with me, you can use Klarna at checkout on the Pay in Full. The Pay in Full is $9,999, so you also save money when you pay in full. So if you would like that option, just know that that is available for you if that makes it easier for you to hop in. For a lot of people, it's not a I can't afford it issue as much as it is a cash flow issue. They don't want to spend all of it up front, or they'd rather spread that investment out over time. And so I do everything I can to help make that possible for you. So all you got to do if you want to apply for Powerhouse Mastermind is go to www.intuitiveedgecoaching.com/powerhouse and click any of the buttons that say apply now and get your application in. And then you and I are going to start scaling in a way that actually gives you more freedom, that actually gives you more peace, that creates more revenue without creating more stress, because that is the goal of building a thriving, successful business. It's not just to make more money. It's about how we're making the money. It's about how we're able to show up and serve. It's about finding creative ways to give our customers the biggest transformation and the best possible experience we can give them without working ourselves to the bone. And that, to me, is a fun, creative problem to solve. So I would like to help you do that. And that's all I have for you today. Tomorrow is Taurus season. I'm going to be back with your Taurus season reading for the collective. It's also my birthday season, so watch out for the Tauruses. Here we come. Move, Aries. You've had your turn. No, I'm just kidding. I love y'all. Okay, that's all I've got for you. If this was valuable, please, again, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, share this episode on your social media and tag me at Intuitive Edge Coaching, and I will shout you out. Leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That helps me out an awful lot. Subscribe to the show. DM me on Instagram if you want to chat. Also, if you're thinking about applying for Powerhouse, but you're not sure if it's right for you, please DM me on Instagram and let's have a little voice note convo. Tell me about what you're working on and what your goals are, and I will tell you if I can help. And if I can't help, I will tell you that too, always. Literally this week, I turned down a large contract and sent somebody to someone else because I was not the right coach for them, and I knew it. So I will never take your money if I'm not the person who can help you. my goal is for you to get the help you need, even if it's not from me. So don't feel weird about hopping into my DMs and saying, I have questions. I am happy to answer them, and it will not be a pushy, hard sell conversation. I want you to get what you need. All right, that's all I've got for you today. I hope that this was valuable for you. Okay, love you, bye. That's our episode for today. Thank you, as always, for being here and for listening to the podcast. I know there are so many things that you could be doing with your time, so many things you could be listening to. It is an honor that you choose to be here. Connect with me on Instagram at Intuitive Edge Coaching. Have a great day.